When I say a vehicle is insane, that one surely is. Makes the car more agile. Oh, do you want to go for some fast Baja rally driving? Or you're just looking for the coolest pickup truck out there? This might be it. The new generation of the Ford Ranger Raptor. So this video here with Thomas and Autogefuehl for you will be about the Ranger Raptor, this top spec version now with a 3-liter V6 petrol engine, but also everything you need to know about the new Ford Ranger, also for the other versions, and how does it relate to the VW Amarok, for example, the new sister model that is kinda equal, or is it different? We'll find out together here. Look at that, this front here of the Raptor version with the huge Ford lettering, the very strong front. The color here is code orange. Depending on the light, it looks more orange or more red, really depending on the sunlight. But we also have a different color here for you today. It's called Conquer Gray. Also pretty fancy. Yeah, both really screaming out. More colors are of course available. The Ranger version has a special metal skid plate here in the very front lower area to protect everything that is in the front, because it is really built for fast Baja driving. That means not slow off-road driving, really fast, hammering it out on the off-road tracks. It is actually capable for that. They have widened the track a little bit, also a little bit longer wheelbase, and because they have moved the front wheels a little bit more to the front, the ascending angle has increased 31 degrees here in the front, 27 degrees descending angle in the rear, and the ground clearance at 26.5 centimeters or 10 inches. And of course, the Ranger Raptor has the very special performance suspension. Look at that, the Fox dampers now reworked and also now active suspension. That means the car decides also for itself, or depending on the driving modes, what is it doing. Very impressive daytime running light as well, and here the turning indicator is below that, and the main headlamp unit here is standard matrix LED for the Raptor. Turning indicator in the rear, well, not as impressive as in the front. And look at that, the sensor for the blind spot monitor is hidden here inside the rear lamp unit. I'm seeing a beautiful integration. The length here at 5.36 m or 211 inches. The Raptor is only available here as the double cab version, or also in different markets called Super Crew. Are you part of the Super Crew? So it means here 4 doors, and then we also have space for the rear passengers. And then you can get some extra equipment. For example, you have here also this special sports bar and side steps. Really impressive. Nice also for off-roading when someone gets on the outside and looks what's ahead. 17-inch wheels here with these off-road on-road mixed tires, so you can see the big profile. With these actually you can do everything, but of course the Raptor has already more off-road focus, but once again also for high-speed off-roading and not only for low-speed off-roading. Interesting is that I told you they reworked the suspension, and also for the normal Ranger what counts now is with the Raptor version, they already had that the suspension was actually outside of the chassis and not inside of the chassis. So they took this experience from the Raptor version so far and also apply it now to the normal Ranger. And that way the suspension works better no matter what load it is, because it can just move around easier and more freely. So this is really taking the top trim level and then getting that experience, also that the customer of a low-end trim model profits from that. Really interesting. But of course here the Raptor has this Fox performance suspension that even really you can literally jump the vehicle and it still won't get all the way through, because it stiffens up then the more it gets in. Really interesting, and we'll also experience it on an off-road part today. A very strong stance here also for the rear. Look at that with the big Ranger lettering, and the Raptor of course even sportier. But it's not only the visual part, it's really what's also underneath. So for the Raptor version they have stiffened up the whole chassis indeed. A new tail lamp design here also. And is it actually an all new generation, or is it rather a facelift? Well, the thing is, the base platform remained the same, but they did extensive rework, so I would say it's something in between. It's maybe not an all new generation in the way of everything is completely upside down, It's also way more than a facelift. That's how I would actually take it. Impressive exhaust tips here for the V6, and also these hooks here, really massive indeed. And talking about the towing capacity, by the way, it's 2.5 tons for the Raptor, but the other Ranger versions are at 3.5 tons. That has something to do with the suspension, that it's actually capable for the high impacts for the fast Baja driving. So if you want the highest towing capacity, it will not be the Raptor version for you. Let's take a look here on the loading area. First of all, this, and we can actually have this Raptor pack, and inside the Raptor pack there is this electric tonneau, how you call it, together then with the sports bar, and also with some more charging possibilities right here, 12 volt, and here a real power socket. So this and everything inside this additional Raptor pack. This is a very practical solution, by the way, and you can also stop it in between. So before that, when you had these manual covers, you always had to, put a strap then here and maybe left and right to lock or unlock it. It's really a handy solution, definitely. On this, look at that. These are maybe like fruit holders, or here fitting to the colors, or beer holders when you are here together with your friends. So, and what about the length here of the cover? The length from here to here, it's a double cab, so it's not the longest bed. So 140 in meters or 54 inches. Once again, the Raptor just available as a double cab, but general Ranger versions will also be available as single cab, and then you would have a longer loading area. Well, and when it's hotter and dirtier, you can see it here, then the car looks like this, or the truck looks like this. And I want to show you one more feature. Here, look at these. You can press them in, and then it also shows here on the icon you can install some clamps, and these clamps here you can screw them tight, and then for example you can secure a piece of timber here and then cut it off right here. And actually there's even a measurement scale here, like 130, 120, 110 right here, that you can actually scale the length of the piece of timber. Interesting, right? The car key is nothing special, however you have a Raptor badge right here. Keyless entry, putting your hand on the outside or on the inside to open or close it. Then door closing sound here. Well, actually not too bad. Quite rugged sound indeed. And new materials here, for example, this neoprene-alike texture on the inside of the doors. Then here with the sporty look, this has actually a structure indeed. The opening of the door from the inside works like this. This has been there before. It's unique way of doing it, but this feels rather a little bit more basic. Then Ford Performance entry badge here at the inside for the Raptor especially, and you also have more Raptor features here, like the contrast here in the same color as the exterior in this case, Raptor here, and also the perforation at the steering wheel, real button still at the steering wheel, and you also have these special sport seats, and well, they say it has been inspired by an F-15 fighter jet. I'm not sure if I see that. Do you see that? But yeah, maybe it's just a cool story. You have some Alcantara insets here for more grip, but I would have wished for more Alcantara on the seat. Other than that, the material is supposed to be a mix of animal skin and leatherette, depending on the exact area, and there is so far no alternative to that. The normal Ranger versions will still get fabric seats. And seating position, it's actually quite comfortable. You feel really you are king of the road. Headroom here with 186 or 189 or 6'2". Yeah, I've grown. So this leaves a lot of headroom there. And then steering wheel, up and down, in and out, actually quite smooth here. So they also worked on that. And it really tells you, let's go driving. But we'll finish up the interior, and then we'll have an extensive driving part on-road and off-road. Interior overview really cleaned up. So yes, this has been a major rework indeed. Most obvious 12-inch vertical screen, soon more deals to that. And I appreciate that you still have manual climate knobs. You can also control it here in the screen, but what for when you can really turn this thing? And this knurling around here feels really rugged. That's really cool. Also a manual volume knob and the vent strength. I really appreciate to have that. So easy to control that while driving indeed. Lower middle console, inductive charging pad, but also wired connections. So Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, both available wireless and wired. Then you have adaptive cup holders, really good quality. So you have increased the interior build quality, really appreciate it. Then you have a big shifting lever right here. And when you turn on the engine, it's really interesting. In the front, you unlock it and then you can turn it here to the drive mode. But the funny thing is, when you turn off the engine, ooh, look at that. Automatically moves to the front. Yeah, it's a very interesting feature, definitely. And this car tends to beep beep a lot of times. Then you have here this armrest. Yeah, it could be a little bit better attached. A lot of space underneath, actually. And then a 12-volt power supply. Now we also have a better view to these gauges here. This button here, for example, activates the off-road camera. Right here, and here the all-wheel drive and drive mode selector. This is very interesting. 4A would be the standard all-wheel drive mode, and it has a center differential. That means you can leave it in this all-wheel drive mode all the time, also while road driving. There won't be any problems. Classic pickup trucks, for example, need the rear-wheel drive that you can actually have also, you know, turning in and out on road driving, but that's not needed here. It's more like a passenger car in an all-wheel drive, still rear-wheel bias. 4H would be the differential lock then it's for off-road driving only, and 4L is it with the off-road gear reduction. You need to put the gear in neutral then for that. And when you turn this gauge here, right and left, this actually switches the driving modes. And when I switch these driving modes in the middle console, you can see you have great animations here. Normal driving mode, then to the sport mode here with the racetrack animation. That looks fancy, right? Slippery mode when it's raining. Yeah, these are the best animations I've seen so far in this case here. Mud and ruts, sorry, for that. Sand, and it always adapts the all-wheel drive to it. Also switches the all-wheel drive mode. I can see it in the in that selector. Sand here also, Baja, and then the rock crawl mode. For that, actually here demands that I shift to the 4L mode. And for example, here in the off-road modes, there's also the differential lock and the center differential lock available or automatically activated. I see that. And when you go to the normal driving modes, like here slippery, then it is in the automatic all-wheel drive mode, as well as here in the sport mode or in the normal mode. So yeah, really fancy stuff. And you can control even more here. You can have individual settings here for my modes, can special individualize that. Then you can have steering here on comfort, normal, or sport, for example, or here the dampening. You can also put your own special mode to that whole thing. And what's also interesting here, you can switch the different exhaust modes here, quiet for example, and then you can also go for sport or even the Baja mode. Whoa, brum, brum, brum. Wow, take a look at that from the outside once again. And the infotainment system has actually a quite good overview. Yeah, once again, this climate unit is accessible here, but I would always use the real turning knobs for that. Here the seat heating or the steering wheel heating is activated in the screen. So the steering wheel heating works actually when I turn on the engine. There we are. Then it actually works. So other than that, it's actually a quite good overview. Camera system here. What about the car internal GPS? It is actually usable. So definitely upgrade that one. Sync 4 system in here. It's also not too laggy, so it works reasonably well. And then you have the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto integration. It can actually look like this. You can also make it a little bit larger. We have the B&O sound system here, and oh, yeah, it's actually quite nice here, that sound. Oh, and storage, dual. Here the top one and the lower one, not dampened though. Yeah, but I mean, it's a pickup truck. Left engine, check. Right engine, check. Wings, check. Cabin, check. Yeah, this is really aircraft style. It really feels so cool to use them. And these are the auxiliary buttons, and at this moment they do nothing, But for additional equipment like lamps and so on, or maybe like a compressor in the rear, there's already wiring going throughout the vehicle, and then these hotkeys here can actually turn them on and off. And now to the heart of the Raptor. It's the 3-liter V6 TwinTurbo petrol. The previous generation Raptor here had a diesel. That was of course not very fitting. In this one here, petrol and even more power. The EU spec is 290 horsepower. In Australia you'll even have 400 horsepower. The EU acceleration figure is 7.9 seconds, so you have massive power now, and also a new 10-speed automatic gearbox. In some other markets, for the General Ranger version, you will also have a 2.3-liter petrol engine, and then there are also, especially for the European market, the 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel and the 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel. And by the way, if you think about the VW Amarok, Ford is basically having the head on this project, so they will also supply all the engines for the Amarok. So if you compare Amarok and Ranger, it's definitely more the Ranger where everything is coming from. However, if you don't care about the high horsepower output, there will also be, once again, a diesel Raptor available based on 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel for the European market. So less horsepower, less power, but still the Raptor styling and suspension performance and so on. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, and it is special with the Ranger Raptor today. Let's put it to the sport mode and also the Baja exhaust mode, and let's just accelerate it out. It is a sports off-road pickup truck, so let's see. Really? No way.
Are we in a pickup truck?
Yeah, are we in a pickup truck? And it's not only a sports off-road truck, it's also a sports on-road truck indeed. Wow. So, yeah, never experienced such an acceleration in a pickup truck. That will probably only be even more extreme in electric pickup trucks like the Rivian or something. Yeah, this is really interesting. Steering, by the way, it is set on the off-road node, definitely, because it's still an off-road vehicle. That means you have to steer actually a lot. On-road, that might be irritating for some, but it's definitely having better effect on off-road driving, that not the steering wheel is all the way turned around when there's something changing on the ground and so on. And however, it does feel quite natural, not too artificial. It's fine. Are these guys going to drive or not? Obviously not. Yeah, and then you have some power reserves to make some overtaking maneuvers. And yeah, when you're facing people with this one here on the road, everyone is making free way for you immediately, because when that thing rolls on, people tend to be a little bit intimidated, definitely. So, wow, it handles really, really well. And I have driven the previous generation Ranger Raptor, and even though it's not like a full chassis generation change, it really feels quite different in driving. So these performance dampers here definitely do a good job also to keep the car straight and sporty. Oh, Policia is already watching us, obviously. Did we do anything? Are they following us? Maybe we just have to drive faster, right? No, just kidding. So let's see how the driving modes differ here. Normal mode is then a little bit calmer. You would just drive in that one usually. The exhaust mode doesn't really change anything suspension-wise, or of course, and so on. I found the most interesting thing with this vehicle the new all-wheel drive system, because you do not have to drive rear-wheel drive only in normal driving, so you won't do any damage to the vehicle when you drive in the normal all-wheel drive mode, because it's not driving with a differential lock then, at least not in the normal all-wheel drive mode. And that makes it more accessible in a way, more normal passenger car-alike in this respect. It still has a rear-wheel bias, definitely. And if you drive, without big acceleration and so on, it will often also only be rear-wheel drive. So the car decides it on its own. It's an intelligent all-wheel drive system. And that's, of course, a crucial aspect here about that vehicle. So when I'm in normal driving mode here, left and right, it doesn't shake up too much. A normal Ranger would have, you know, a softer suspension. These Fox performance dampers are really also set out for high-speed driving. And let's see how the driving modes here change. When I'm going to the sports mode, do we feel anything here then? Going left and right. Not too much, maybe a little bit, right? Does it, what do we say, Michelle? Does it shake up more? So, yeah, I think it feels a little bit stiffer indeed. And it steers very, very well. I mean, it is fun to drive, and usually with these vehicles here, with these pickup trucks, you have great off-road capabilities, but then they kind of drive a little bit weird on the road, you know, but this one here doesn't at all, so it drives very, very well. And still you have comfort, because you have these 17-inch wheels with the all-terrain tires, and they don't feel too off-roadish actually. Here in the Sportsman also RPMs are turned up higher, so they don't feel too off-road in a way of that you think like you have no control over the vehicle and you're just like floating on the road. I do have quite good control over the vehicle indeed. And in the slippery mode, for example, it's the opposite from the sports mode. Then the throttle input is turned back. All-wheel drive system is set on best traction actually, and this can be then helpful when it's a little bit more slippery, of course. So you can play around with that and always enjoy these nice visualizations there. However, most of the time, normal mode it is for road driving, and these off-road all-terrain slash tires, they don't create too much tire noise. It's actually quite okay as well. Now here at around 70 kilometers an hour, so like between 40 and 50 miles an hour, it is still relatively silent also as for the outside wind noises. Yeah, okay. Yeah, really nicely picking up the speed here. The 3-liter V6 is a great addition to the vehicle, and it fits to the Raptor so much better than the diesel before. I'm not sure if I want to look at the fuel economy at the end of this review. This will probably be very, very scary, but engine characteristic wise, it definitely fits better. And I'm really astonished by how well it handles here on the road. It's a lot of fun to drive, and it seems like a goal conflict to have a really off-road capable truck. At the same time, it is fun on-road, but it is indeed the case here. In modernizing the whole interior, also with the new infotainment system and so on, helps as well. And still we have the classic user interface where I can control the AC unit blindfold while driving. So that is helping as well. The steering, again, it is set on the off-road tone, but I'm quite happy with it because it is precise. You don't have a dead zone area or something. Every input is actually doing something, and that's, to me, for example, always important to have a feeling over the vehicle actually. So back to the sports mode and Baja exhaust mode. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that I have a truck where I enjoy the sound. Wow, that's really something. This is really a very special feeling, and you rather think like, oh, today we are in this sports car review, and it handles so well in the corners, and there's a nice exhaust sound, and we have a sporty feeling, and oh wait, before we come to the racetrack driving later on, and we're in the Ford Ranger. That is something really unique. So indeed, this upgrade for the dampers also helps now with active dampening, and then also the different driving modes, which also help in driving. Wow. Of course, the long wheelbase, you feel that at some point you have some understeering in the corners. That's the thing where you still feel you are in a truck, but I can't believe how little you feel you are in an off-road pickup truck and how much fun it is to put it here in the corners. This is, wow, just absolutely astonishing. Woo! Alright, now to off-road driving. We start with rock climbing before we go to the fast Baja driving. And for that, we switch here to the rock crawl mode. And that then needs us to go to the neutral, and then it puts in the off-road gear reduction 4L. and also automatically activates the rear differential lock. There's also an instructor for me here who's guiding me along this way, and there are really large and small rocks up ahead. Then you can see it also here on this camera where I'm actually going, but of course when you don't know the track, it's also helpful to have the instructor here, and they also, of course, they also don't want any damage on their vehicles. And the funny thing is that they have adapted the steering ratio for road driving indeed, and that means it felt better driving it steering wise on the road. At the same time, it's still quite comfortable to use it here on an off-road track. Always slowly here. This is getting, wow, there's huge rocks here. So do not put your hand in the steering wheel when off-road driving. On the steering wheel is actually better. So when you're on the steering wheel, because then your thumbs cannot get dislocated when suddenly the steering turns and so on. So now I'm a little bit more here. Wow, this looks really scary. And now all the G-forces are coming towards me. Woo! Everything is flying inside the cabin. Wow, this is like, and it also looks amazing from the exterior. Wow. So I'm really all the way sideways here now in that vehicle. Just very slowly, very spectacular. And it actually still feels pretty comfortable in that car. Wow. I mean, when you look at that from the outside, you can't believe this is really working. Now the differential lock is also working. And we can't get... Yeah, now I have activated the front differential lock. The front differential lock is actually new to this vehicle. And by that, you maybe felt that. Before that, I could not get further. Now I have activated the front differential lock. I can go further on these rocks. So indeed essential for this off-road situation. You know, there's quite often the comment like, oh, this is not real off-road driving. My Ford Fiesta can do that. No, what we're doing here at this moment, defo no Ford Fiesta could do that. Now it gets even trickier, and well, I already feel that the front differential lock is a game changer here in this rock climbing. And holy, wow, this is like, wow. I mean, if you guys could feel the G-force being applied here, like at the moment I'm like all the way backwards because it's so steep here. The camera doesn't really convey how steep it is actually. Oh, now I deactivate the parking beep, otherwise getting too annoying because I'm really close to that ridge right there. Wow, I can't believe this car can do that. Like this truck can do that. So, wow, I'm just amazed. I mean, I've been driving a lot of different off-road vehicles, and how capable this is in ascending in decent angles, although it's, you know, it's not a short off-road vehicle here, definitely not. And these tires are also really, really good. So to me, it's also a factor of how comfortable is off-road driving, because sometimes off-road driving cannot be that much fun if it's actually too rough, you know, what you feel in the cabin. And this is delivering great capability at the same time, great comfort. Wow. All right, now fast Baja driving. We go to the Baja mode. It makes the car a little bit stiffer, but still all-wheel drive, suitable that it can go off-road driving, so different from the sports mode. And now we also have a fast off-road, a fast Baja track right here, where we can indeed go fast off-road driving. And yeah, it tells me also no off-road use only. And it's in the 4H mode. That means the center differential lock is active. Yeah, and it reminds me of my motocross days here. Michelle is outside also filming. Yeah, wow, it's really a lot of fun. And usually off-road driving is more about driving slow. In this case then, this is a rare example then for Baja driving, where this car can indeed be used for. I can also use the manual shifting pedals, by the way, if you want. And it's a super rough terrain here indeed, but these all-terrain tires do a great job, still hooking up very well. And the fog dampers, I mean, of course, they are not super soft. They're more set out that they can really take hard impacts, but they actually are still quite comfortable, although they are also very sporty indeed. That's the astonishing thing of that. Wow, yeah, Baja mode also turns up the RPMs quite a lot, and it also actually keeps the on the left here. It actually keeps the RPM so high, so I can really stay on the gas, and even if I lift the gas at some point, you know, woo! Oh my God, yeah, that was lifting off. Yeah, I mean, hardly ever can we actually jump vehicles while driving them, and this one can take it. And it's not that when you land, everything is all over the place. You land actually from the jump, and it's fine, you know. So yeah, you really feel like a professional rally driver when you're driving this one here. Wow, super impressive. I mean, road driving, rock climbing, and also fast off-road driving. This new Ford Ranger Raptor here, it really seems to be capable of everything on every terrain you put it on. So yeah, the only thing is, when you are in the Baja mode and have the center diff lock on, it's good then when you accelerate out and so on. However, when you are in the normal driving modes, of course, the car feels more passenger-like, and when you are in these off-road modes, then you really feel the off-road character of the vehicle. But you can adjust, depending on what you need it for. Of course, here on this track, it would also be possible that I drive it on the normal driving mode. And now I'll switch to the sport mode just for comparison. Yeah, it can also take sport mode off-road, and the thing is, when it's not super rough off-road, it also feels in a way lighter and more agile than in normal or in sports mode, because there's not the center differential lock, and that of course makes the car more agile. Oh, oh my God, yeah, this is a lot of fun. And I mean, if you see rally drivers sometimes taking these leaps, it looks super rough, but here, due to the suspension and these fog dampers, the landing is actually quite smooth. Super astonishing. The changes they've made here to this one, really impressive indeed. And you should check out the sister model, the VW Amarok, or more off-road reviews on Autogefuehl. Let's go.